for a young lady who loves horse racing, and she is known as the Blond Bomber. The one and only Carol Ann Sutton. Make her feel welcome, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks for coming, guys. Move this closer. All right. Today, my goal is not to completely transform your handicapping game. It is strictly just to give you another tool to put in your tool chest to basically double check if DRF and if Bayer are giving you all the information that you really need. Predicteform bases all of its figures off of velocity, and so it's a pretty unique formula. In a horse's lifetime, it might only run a total of 1 hour, and so Predicteform believes in breaking up each race into small, minuscule pieces so that you can review whether it's going to move forward or backwards into its next race. Basically, one race in a horse's life might be the equivalent of 2 to 3 years on the job. So we want performance reviews every 6 months in little pieces. That's what we're going to be looking at today, is breaking it down into little chunks and then seeing where we can spot something that we need to flag that can indicate that the horse is going to do better next time. So without further ado, I'd also like to thank Johnny and Dustin for helping me put this together, and Shane for keeping a personal library of DRF forms, and Fred for teaching me how to handicap at the first seminar I ever went to, and Cindy and Diana for helping me too today. So let's get started. All right. So DRF is a pretty common tool that most people use. I know that Fred uses Formulator, Shane uses Formulator, and the edge that it really gives you is that you can see statistics that other people can't necessarily see. You can manipulate the information. So if you want to find out if a trainer, for example, has, let's say he ships a horse to Del Mar and he's with a certain owner today that you like, and he's switching surfaces, and you want to find out from a sprint to a route how he's going to do, you can feed every piece of information into Formulator and get the answer out. What's his in-the-money statistic? What's his win statistic? Which horses he's most successful with? And that's a great tool, but it also uses Bayer numbers, and Bayer numbers drive me nuts. I'm going to be honest with you, I know that most people love them, but they take into account class, and that is one thing that Predicteform throws out for the most part, and so it gives you raw data in comparison. So that's where your edge as the handicapper comes in, because you're not playing against the house, you're playing against other players. So when you play against other players, you want to not be the person at the track that buys the $2 program that has all the same information that every other person has. You want to have the secrets, and these are the secrets. So the other one that we're going to discuss is quick gaps. It's okay. I'm not going to beef it up. It's all right. I'll show you what I mean here in a couple slides. So, all right. Predicteform was invented by Kerry Fatias. He was a Wall Street currency exchange broker, and long story short, he went down to his basement every night for 10 years, studied 150,000 races, and compiled all the information into one giant algorithm, and he created Predicteform. And rather than starting the actual company first, he hit a huge pick six and decided to kick off from Wall Street, because who doesn't love kicking off from Wall Street to go play horses all day? And like a true degenerate, rather than retiring and buying an island, he decided to hire more people so he could play more tracks. So he made it so that he can personally par 20 tracks. So he used to have a person at each track who would go to the track, watch the race, and rather than just looking at the form afterwards where it would say whether a horse ran 3, 4, or 5 wide, he would go and personally score it. Like, no, that horse didn't run 3 wide, he ran 7 wide, or vice versa. And so they got much more accurate data than what the average person was getting. Now, unfortunately, they don't use personal par people, but they still keep the proprietary formula, and they still make some adjustments as needed. So the factors that Predicteform uses are pretty interesting. So, of course, velocity, like we discussed, and then they also use a little bit of time, and they throw out class, And then also track conditions and speed variance and track variance. So it's not completely dissimilar to other formulas, but he weights them differently. That's how he gets the numbers that he gets. And when you see the numbers, they look very similar to buyer numbers, but you have to realize that, we'll do some examples later, that you'll get radically different figures for the same horse in the same race. All right, quick gaps is interesting. This is the first long shot identifying tool that I ever used. The best thing about it is that it color codes horses for you. So if a horse is running in the lead, it's red. If a horse is running second, it's green. Third is yellow. So whenever you're handicapping races, you always want to find out what the pace scenario is. So you want to know who enjoys running at the beginning, who is going to come strong at the end. And this is a great way to scroll through quickly and identify who your early horses are and who your late horses are and who the horses are that have never even touched third place before. It's a very fast way to handicap because you can click straight through, but the worst part about it is, though, whatever service that they use to get their information, they skip races. So you can be going through DRF and you'll go, that looks like an interesting race. You flip over to quick gaps and it's missing. So you have to be very, very careful when you handicap through quick gaps. The other thing I really like about it too is it shows splits differently than DRF and most other programs. So if you're a big time handicapper, which experts say you're not supposed to do that, but I love double checking numbers with times and fractions. This is an excellent way to do it. Also, I should mention it's very cheap. I think it's $20 for like a 6-month subscription. All right, personal handicapping motto, here we go. So when I'm looking for a long shot to bet heavily on, I look for 3 key factors. The first one is form, and I get that one from Predicteform. That is, how in shape is this horse? How is he developing? Is the trainer moving him to a surface and to a distance, and maybe even a track that he can handle and that he's going to be able to move forward off of? And also, the thing about Predicteform is there's a motto that every race puts something into a horse or takes something out. And Predicteform helps you know, is this going to be one of those races where they're actually going for the win, or is this one where he's going out for a trot to exercise? So the other one is ability. This is back to quick gaps and using the time and the fractions to actually check. For example, sometimes Predicteform will have a horse who maybe scored 4 points, 5 points higher than other horses, but it's at a track that I don't really trust the figures on. So what you can do is roll over to quick gaps and check, well, no, this horse actually ran 5 seconds slower than the rest of all the horses in his field. I don't think that number is true. And you can make your decisions based on, who to set to the chopping block and who to actually move forward on. The last factor that is the green light factor is the trainer. And of course, jockey, connections, things like that. It's tough because I have a little thing at the end on why not to bet specifically on one jockey, but the trainer angles are important. If a horse is moving from dirt to turf and it's for a purpose and you have a good trainer, it's a fantastic play. But sometimes you'll get a trainer who just throws a horse into a dirt race just on the whim of it. No reason, just felt like running. So you have to kind of be aware of who you're dealing with and what their intent is. The other thing is, too, of course, value. Whenever you go through and handicap with these 3 factors, I like to, before I actually look at the morning line or at the board, I want to create my own morning line. So if you find a horse in your stack that you think should be like 3-1, 4-1, and you look up at the board and he's 30-1, butterflies. So you just can't wait to put a bet in on that horse, especially if it has all those 3 green factors. And even then, I still stop for a moment and try to figure out why is it 30-1, and you have that moment where you go, what does everyone else know that I don't know? So the benefits of Predicteform. All right. So when I go to the track, I play about 10 tracks on a Saturday. That's pretty average. And normally that'd be tough because if you have a book, you sit there and you have to go through every single race and figure out the pace scenario of every single race. And you have to figure out what the real odds are going to be and angles and things like that. With Predicteform, you can scroll through at lightning speed in the value play section, which I don't necessarily recommend doing this. I'll get to that in a minute. But it makes it fast if you're in a hurry, like if you're in a contest, to scroll through and spot races that are going to have value, where the top contender might be bouncing, so you know to bet on other horses, or where there might be a long shot hidden in there that could have some serious value. The other thing is, too, a lot of people get stuck in DRF and other programs on, like, if horse A beats horse B in in this race, then the next time out, horse A should have to beat horse B the next race out. And that is really not that true. A lot of value comes from how in shape do these horses get in between the races, how specialized were these distances for them. So the next time out, B could very well beat the A. It's just a matter of the trip and his form and how in shape he is. So, all right, we're going to take a look at how to actually read Predicteform's form. So the view on the left is value play. This is one that you can scroll through. And the one on advanced is the one that eventually you're going to be starting with. But for now, we're going to start with value play. Again, advanced looks a lot like Beyer numbers, but they're broken up into little pieces. There is one more view, and it's called basic view, and it's available on their website. The problem with basic view is it's a bunch of graphs, and it's not that clear. The only time it ever helps you spot horses, I would say efficiently, is whenever their pace and their final times are coming together, and you can tell they're about to peak. But even then, if you're looking at your numbers, you know that anyways. Graphs take a long time to sort through compared to the other information. I also might mention that if you've never used Predicteform before, that every weekend they have a free track. So if you aren't sure if you want to buy it, you can always go in and play it for a couple weeks and get used to it and get the hang of it. In that respect, it's very cheap. And also, everyone who's here today gets a $40 voucher for Predicteform, so you can try it at your leisure. So, also, since I don't happen to have the vouchers, you actually get another free weekend, because another $40 value, because I bought it this weekend because I'm going to play myself, and I'll just send you all my copy of it. So, make life easy. It does not have an app. We are not that far forward in technology. This guy just came out of his basement. You got to give him time to catch up. So, yeah. All right, we're going to take a look at, break down all the different symbols and all the different designations here. So, all right, on value view, you're going to look underneath the red triangle. Your top value. It doesn't mean that he's the top contender. Yeah. Nope, you don't have this yet. Sorry. Nope, we're just looking up here. Sorry, this is just an example. You don't have this in your packet. Your packets aren't going to come in handy until we actually have races that we're going to handicap together. So, anyways, go ahead and look under there. The top contender is the horse that they pick for the actual win. This does not mean it's the favorite. Oftentimes it is not the favorite. Sometimes it's a long shot, and that is very exciting when it is. Their fringe contenders are horses that they think could finish within 1 furlong of the winner. So on a bad trip, if the winner, predicted winner, is going to have a bad trip, or if you see a factor, slop or track condition, a jockey switch, a fringe contender can be an excellent play. A breakout is a horse who just ran a significant race and is coming into his form cycle. An average horse is just going to be in the mix. There's nothing great about him, but it doesn't mean you should count him out. And regressors, this is a term that I'm not totally comfortable with. I've seen regressors win before because, again, it's a computer algorithm. But typically, if you go through and you check a horse's numbers, you can tell whether or not he's a regressor or if he's going to be a progressor, I guess. Too slow, that's a tough play to make. Sometimes I'll find a long shot that's too slow and I really like him, but it's tough to get off the statistic that the too slow horses only win 6% of the time. It's just a pretty bleak outlook there. And then a yellow triangle means first-time starter. On Predicteform, it is a little nerve-wracking to bet on races where there are any first-time starters in the mix, just because you have no information on them whatsoever. Predicteform doesn't do trainers. It's just strictly raw data. So go to DRF for that. All right, this is a pretty typical example of what a value play view is going to look like. Usually the top contenders on the top. And then we're going to go ahead and go through and read what the different columns are. So PP is post position. The races are the total in their lifetime. Their last race, that would be their days since their last race. That's important to note. Because it can also help you spot layoffs, especially with big designations. We're going to learn about some patterns later, and they pop up as designations such as like this NPT. And if that's coming off a layoff, it can be super powerful and a big moneymaker. And then, of course, morning line. So, and top final is their best on that surface. Important to note, not off any surface. Yes? Yeah, so they just use the morning line. However, you want live odds, there's actually a way to do that on the website where you feed in the live odds and it'll recalculate all the value for you. For example, they are. In fact, we're doing one later where the morning line maker must have been drunk because he missed a huge horse. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually super easy to feed in the live odds. And then if you have like a top contender who scratched, you can also feed it in there and he scratched and it'll recalculate the whole scenario. Yep, and it redesignates all the horses too. Yeah. So you have a new top contender, a new fringe player, you know what you're, yeah. And that part's free too, yeah. It's nice. So, yeah. The other thing I want to mention here too is sometimes in this view you can tell whether or not just the favorite is beatable. If the favorite appears down towards the bottom of the list, you see a 1-to-1 horse, it's the kind of race you want to jump on right away because that means that there are maybe 5 other horses that have more value. So let's go ahead and move on. Oh, also, if you spot the 1-to-1 value and he's up at the top of the list, to me that's a race that's moderately skippable. I'd rather spend my time investigating something else. So, all right, when there's little value in a race, this is a good example of this. The top contender is the morning line favorite, and Predicteform also favors him. So, leave him alone. I don't know. This isn't a race I would investigate. I think I'd check this race later on, and the favorite won by a lot. So, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes there is true value because the second horse in line, the value is 30-to-1. So, if you're feeling wild, go for it. But generally, it just, for the value and the time, skip it. Although, I will say this, if you're playing a pick 3, you're going to be forced to play the race, so it could be worth investigation. But generally, if you're spot playing, leave it. All right, we're going to get into surfaces. I'll go ahead and let you read through this quick, then I'll start explaining. All right, so horse players usually know this, but Predicteform brings out this point in a different way than most other programs do. So in dirt racing, horses start out the fastest they're going to go, typically unless it's a very, very classy horse, in the first 2 furlongs. And then by the end of the race, it's just deceleration the whole way around the track, so that by the end of the race, he might not necessarily be going the slowest that he'll go around the track, but he's definitely a lot slower than when he started. Turf, it's the exact opposite. They come out at kind of a jog, they conserve energy the whole way around the track, and then it all comes down to the stretch run typically. So that's when the acceleration occurs. So we're going to be comparing the numbers as opposites for when the speed should actually take place. So that's an important thing to kind of keep in your mind. The 2-point difference on dirt isn't that big of a deal, but the 2-point difference on turf is significant. So if you're going through and comparing races and you see that horses have final times and the spread is 8 points on turf, that's huge. But on dirt, investigate. It doesn't necessarily mean that 8 points is still a lot, but it doesn't mean that that's your definite winner. With dirt, what you want is, as you cut up the fractions, you want the horse to be able to conserve his energy and distribute his energy more evenly. And that's going to result in a smaller spread, and I'll show you that in just a second. But the whole idea is that he's learning to keep his energy even and learning to conserve it so that he doesn't blow it all in the first half, and that if he does blow it all in the first half, he can keep going. With turf, you want to see energy conservation in a different kind of light, so that the bigger the spread is better, so that the slower he goes at the beginning and the faster he goes at the end, that should mean the faster he should be able to go in the next race, because he jogged the first part, so he should have plenty of energy left over. Whenever you run a horse in a dirt race, it puts speed into the horse. Whenever you run a horse on dirt, it puts stamina into him. So when you see the surface switches, you need to keep that in mind to try to figure out what the trainer's object is whenever he puts him into the race. I also might mention, too, if you're a fan of Thistledown, the horse, he has some kind of a record for the fastest final 2 furlongs. going down a stretch at, I believe, Gulfstream. So just an interesting fact. I know there's some Divisadero fans in here. That means he came like a freight train down the back stretch. So, all right, advanced view. This is where, if you need to take notes, go ahead. But just important to note what all the designations are. And if you want to look down at your sheets and your packets and start noting what all these things mean so you can kind of get a feel for it, this might be a good time while you have all the designations up. And the 3 lines that you're going to want to note the most are the final pace figure, the 4 furlong pace figure, and the pattern. Those are the 3 that we're going to be focusing on today. So find those. It's the top line, the second line down, and then the pattern will always appear in like a little box. So you can hold off on that. If you happen to have a pattern, great. If you don't, that's okay. Okay, sure. So those are patterns. We're going to be studying those in just a minute. Yeah. Yep. We're going to learn how to read the form first and get to patterns. Those are the fun. That's the fun part. Yeah. The other thing I might note here too is that all the races move from most recent on the left to longest to go on the right. So as you read it, it's very counterintuitive because you read right to left if you want to go in chronological order. So get used to that too. So most recent, left, then go back. Oh, whoops, sorry. Didn't realize it was changing. There we go. Yes. So most recent on the left, longest to go on the right. Yep. And there are dates. Dates are right here. So important to note. Yeah. And also, the T is for what track. There's a condition, firm. These are blinkers and Lasix. And surface, obviously. And this is the 6 furlong pace number. And we're going to be using that later, but right now we're sticking with the 4. So, an important part whenever you're looking at this too to get used to is that you're only going to compare similar distances. So you only want, if you have a 7 furlong race, try to only compare it to other 7 furlong or 7.5 furlong races or 6.5. You want to get as tight in the distance as you can because that will give you more accurate numbers, obviously, but in other programs that doesn't matter. Here it does matter. The other thing that you want to note also is never ever compare numbers between 2 different surfaces. Turf numbers are completely different, completely unrelated to dirt numbers, apples to oranges. So no similarity whatsoever. They do not translate. So if you have a fast number on a dirt horse and he switches to turf, unless you see a pattern or something like that, it is insignificant. So yes. Yeah, in my experience, yeah. Nope. Synthetic just counts as dirt on here, and they've run some pars on that to fix that. Actually, I believe. Anyways, it always seems to work out pretty well. So, yeah. All right, everybody comfortable? Yep, it is. Synthetic shows up as dirt. It has a symbol. What's it look like? Yes, but the numbers seem to play the same. So, if it says dirt, you should be all right. So, all right. All right, moving into spreads. If you take notes, this is where you're going to want to do it. So, write down these formulas. You're going to need them later, especially for the contest. And I'm going to let you write them down first, and then I'll show you how to use them. So. If I need to zoom, let me know. Yes. I'll go over here first and then I'll move it. How about that? This is turf. It's going to be the formula in bold that you need. All right, we all good? I'm going to move over to dirt. Maybe. Nope. Let's see here. All right, I'll just tell you what it is. How about that? It's pace in parentheses 4F minus final equals spread. That's the dirt formula. So I'll repeat it. Pace 4F minus final, also designated as F, equals spread. That's the dirt formula. Yeah, I'll show you how to use it, yeah. So we're going to do an example up here right now, actually. So, all right, I'm going to move away from the microphone. Let me know if you can't hear me. All right, so in turf, we talked about how we wanted increasing spreads, right? So as you move towards the target race, you want it to look like an alligator mouth. You want the spreads to be widening like this. So if you look at the numbers right here, we took the 68 minus the 54 and got the 13. And the 68 minus the, minus the 43 and got 24. So we have an increasing spread as we go along. And the 73 and 48, 24. So this is the horse that is about to peak because his alligator mouth is getting bigger. So his spread is widening, as they say. So that means he's going easier at the beginning and then getting faster or sustaining at the end. He's getting a better distribution of energy. If you have a new horse and he has a debut of a spread of 10 or more points, he'll usually move off of it. Excuse me. If on a dirt spread, all right, we're going to go ahead and take a look. We want a tightening dirt spread. So here we did the same thing. We took the same three numbers, so 61 and 66, but it's reversed. So here we have the 66 minus the 61, and we have 5, and then you go through and you do all the rest of these. So the 63 minus the 62, and you get 1, so it's a tightening dirt spread. So it moves in the opposite direction, so it's getting smaller as you go. So this is your target race right here that you're betting on, and he's thoroughly improving to the point where you should be ready to peak. Yeah?
The most recent races on the left side.
Yes, that is so hard to remember. Yes. You got it. So
And you want the numbers to get smaller the closer to the race.
yep. So spread smaller on dirt.
Okay.
Yep. And then wider on the turf. Yep. So alligator mouth on the turf, and then alligator shuts his mouth on dirt. That's how I remember it. So all right, and then over here, note his tightening dirt spread. The 1 is an excellent number. And usually the tightening dirt spreads are great for stretch outs. So that's an important thing to note. If you have a 6-furlong horse and he's making a move, the tightening dirt spread is a great play because this does not show up at all in buyer numbers. His buyer number will be whatever he ran according to the time and whatever class he's in. It's not going to reflect these at all. Also, dirt spreads are typically positive numbers, but we're going to go into what happens if they're negative.
What is, when looking at
Yeah.
dirt going like this, what is that number, like, is that horse getting better if it's going like this?
Yeah.
Going faster, or,
So what it,
like, what is it getting smaller?
okay, yeah. So that means that his distribution of energy is getting more even.
Okay.
Yeah. So that means he's not just blowing it out at the beginning of the race and then dead tired by the end of the race, or vice versa. It means he's getting a more even distribution. He's figuring out how to run an even race and pace himself. So, and pace himself according to the distance too.
Is that the same for turf?
So turf is the widening one. You want them to be able to jog in the beginning and then blow it out at the end. Yep. Yeah.
Now, are you taking the last 3 races?
To figure out these formulas, this is just an example. No. So these formulas stand for every time you calculate any kind of a spread. So we're going to do a bunch of different spreads. So yeah, these formulas apply across the board, always to turf and always to dirt. Yeah. Actually, I go off last 10. So yeah, but at a glance, the last 3 works in this example. So because they're very clearly going that direction. You have to do that. But once you get used to it, it's actually quick to spot it. So, because you'll see, I mean, you can kind of glance through and know where the lines are with guys. So, yeah. I don't know. You know, no, they don't have anything like that, and I wish they did. It's not a feature that they have. They do have designations that they'll put next to horses who are first time out, like for their second run, how they did on their first run, a quick review of whether they should improve or get worse. But it's just such a crapshoot because they don't have any trainer information or any workout information. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be wildly helpful. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to repeat this one more time. If you get anything out of this, it's that the early numbers count in dirt and the late numbers count in turf. And again, alligator mouth on turf, you want wider spreads. Alligator closes his mouth on dirt. So what happens when the horse it means that a horse is really coming to his own. So let's take a quick look. I'm going to point out the spreads here. And so this happens more often than what you'd think. And this the important thing to note about a reversal is that they do wonderfully in stretch outs. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're a go-to winner or anything like that. Don't get that idea. But it's a horse you should look at twice. If he looks like a nobody in DRF and he has a reversal in Predicteform, it's one you need to go back to and look at again. Again, this just means he's distributing his energy more evenly and in a smarter fashion. And also, I might say, too, that reversal is only true for a horse if he has previous dirt experience. Sometimes the computer will pop up a reversal, and it doesn't matter because he's never been on dirt. Know to throw that out. And young horses, it'll give you some weird pop-up designations, but it's only because he's a young horse and the computer doesn't know. Like if a horse runs off the track, sometimes it'll even count that, and it'll put numbers to it and give you a weird designation like, oh, this horse really runs slow at the beginning, so he's going to be able to go fast at the end. And you're like, no. So it's important to note kind of all the different numbers as you go through and keep in mind their meaning. All right, now we're going to go over turf spreads and the designations that come with this. And this is where it gets really fun. This is my favorite moneymaker. All right. Okay, so same thing. All right, we have alligator mouth opening, so getting wider. The bigger the spread is the better. So if you compare, all right, so remember how the 2-point difference is significant here. Don't shy away from the 70 over 56 compared to the 71 over 75, because this spread is significantly bigger, meaning he has more energy built up, where he ran easily at the beginning last time, that he can put it into going forward next race. Whereas this horse spent more energy, and the best he could do was a 71. Whereas this horse, we aren't even sure how hard he tried at the beginning, if that makes sense. Because 56 is a pretty low number. So then he still wound up with the 70s. That's significant. The decrease in pace numbers, the 4F numbers, but steady final numbers. So like, let's say for example, this is the same horse. So let's say he ran a 71 over 65, and the next race out he ran a 70 over 56. That would be a huge sign of improvement and that he's ready to move forward. That is often called the TDL pattern. So that is a very, very powerful indicator of future success. Let's go over here for a second. All right. So the important thing to remember is whenever you're looking at the TDL, he has to have his 4 furlong pace number drop by at least 6 points. So even if the computer doesn't designate it, you can still catch this. If a horse has had even 1 TDL in its lifetime, then it won't ever appear again in his program because they think that that's the moment where he's coming into his own. So it's important to look for it all the time, whether or not it has the designation or not. And here's an example of a good TDL. So 75 over 58, 77 over 54, pretty comparable, but improving. And then boom, 78 over 45, his next race out should be phenomenal. So, let's see here.
Do they label it TDL?
They do. They label it TDL in the program, just like the reversal block. It looks just like that, just the same letters. The only thing I might warn you against is plow is a very similar designation. The problem that I have with plow is that it does not take into account the final numbers. So, for example, the 4 furlong number could drop, so he walked the first half of the race, but then in plow, he could walk the last half of the race and he still gets the plow designation. It doesn't matter how he ended up. It just means that he went really, really slow in the beginning. So it's not terribly useful. TDL, if you're going to look at a turf designation, that's the one to stick with. And I also might mention TDLs are very rare. In a whole weekend of handicapping, I might spot only 2 or 3 true ones. They don't happen that often, so that's why they're good long shot indicators. Like I said, nothing about them will appear in DRF or buyer numbers. Maybe the horse even ended up 8th in this race, but because he ran such a powerful race with velocity, we know he's going to improve, but no one looking at the program knows it, and that's how you get good odds on him next time. I should also mention, too, that really good trainers will know when the horse had a TDL, but I don't see that many trainers necessarily around here, like at Fawn, or I guess it wouldn't be Fawn because they don't have turf, but you get my drift. Not all trainers are aware of when the horse is about to peak. So, yeah, Fred.
I can see that a horse would have, I mean, TDL is essentially like a really powerful finish in the turf race, right?
Yeah.
From a very much slower pace.
Yes.
Does that factor in trip? Because trip is often the main factor.
They do factor in trip. Yes. So,
Factoring it in,
yeah.
skill is incredible.
Correct, yeah. So, yeah, that's all a part of their formula. They do factor in trip. I know that they take into account, it's some secret proprietary formula, but I actually read his book, which was the Blinkers Off book, and he talks about how he created the algorithm, and that was included in that. You're right. So don't worry about that. Granted, whenever he had the track spotters there, who would write down if the horse really ran 3 or 4 wide, I think it was much more accurate. But in this case, the best we can do is go off of the program, and they do factor that in. So, yeah. Okay, we're going to look at patterns, and these are all these mystery letters that are appearing next to your numbers. So we're going to go over a couple of rules for these first. It is very exciting to spot one, especially TDL. And you want to jump up out of your chair and bet it right away because you finally spotted one. But slow down and actually study it because there are computer anomalies that can happen. And we're going to point those out so you don't get fooled by them. So, oops. Okay, so even a horse that has a plow or a new pace top has to be competitive with the rest of the field. So let's say he is just a totally terrible horse, but he has a plow. He can't improve enough to like compete with the rest of the group if it's like a 10-point spread. Could he improve slightly? Absolutely. But will he improve enough to take the field? It's doubtful. The same thing with the new pace top. It can be exciting to spot one, but he still has to have final competitive figures somewhere in his past where he can prove that he can run with equal horses that are in the race. So even if he's improving, don't plan on him improving like 10 points. Plan for a small jump. Really good trainers, and you can see this in the numbers later on, you want to see small, gradual improvements. You want to see a horse improve by 2 or 3 points every race. You don't want to see the blowout because that's going to cause regression in the next race. They're going to need to rest off that. So you want to see little tiny improvements, and that's one of the best ways to look for this. You won't get fun patterns, but it's a good way to spot an improving horse. All right, also, patterns that happen off of a layoff are extremely powerful, particularly new pace top. We'll get into that in a minute, but if you can keep this in the back of your mind, a new pace top coming off a 60-day layoff has a wildly successful rate that I'll share with you later in terms of horses that improve. So look for the layoff. Make sure that it's not a fake number, like we said earlier with the plow, that he didn't just run a totally terrible race and still get the plow designation. And the last one that I'm going to point out is a soft designation. So this is actually a very good pattern to have. It means the horse won very, very easily in this race. So his average final numbers and 4F numbers dropped significantly, and he basically, why win by 8 furlongs when you could win by 2? Why waste the energy? If you win by 2 and you can win easily, you can come right back sooner rather than taking a big rest. So that's what the soft example means, and I'll point to the numbers here. So you can see that he's running well in May, well in June, July, he wins it, he doesn't even try, he must have had a class drop, or maybe he got entered at a smaller track or a less competitive field, and he still took the win. So, all right, we're going to move into dirt patterns. All right, so we were working on spreads. This is where they come in. So these will appear, I'm sure you can see in your little examples how you get the little boxes of new pace tops and things like that. This is where they come in. I'm going to show you the difference between a new pace top, which means he's going to get faster, and a double top, which means there's a double top is knowing when not to bet, and when it's a true double top, a lot of times top contenders and morning line something higher than this though, and then he heads off into a race and he scores his personal best. Not set for a win unless he's either very classy and has had a long layoff, or he's an excellent trainer who knows how to ran in his life. So of course he got a double top because he improved off his first race. So you need to keep your eye out for that with young horses. Wow, he really blew it out last time. He's totally going to win again. And with Predicteform, he's set to bounce. And the rest of the crowd will bet him down to even odds sometimes. So that gets exciting. That's when you know to start looking at other horses. All right, so for new pace top, here's the difference. So this is his average. And he does a very fast 4 furlong number here. But his final stays about the same. So he's like so it does also not apply to lightly raced horses. So let's say he's a very young horse. Pace stops happen. New pace stop is a dirt designation. And I'll show you that in a minute. But All right, we're going to look at a case study here. This appeared in DRF. To the left is what appeared in Predicteform. So go ahead and study it and see if you can. This is, yeah. This is a dirt race, sorry. Oh, is it turf? Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, sorry. Let me point this out. My bad. Should have made this more clear. This is today's race. It's a turf race. May, June, he's on dirt. He has this one turf race right here where he really blows it out at the beginning, and he just kind of quits at the end. So his buyer number isn't very significant. I mean, that's a pretty standard meh buyer number. He looks like he's never going to win anything. Just kind of a sad looking horse. Then you come down here. Scoring decent buyer numbers. Then you come over here to Predicteform's numbers and you take a look. So, all right, this horse was running on dirt. He's not in very good shape. All right, he just hasn't been developed yet, right? He's a young horse coming to his own, and he runs one turf race, and he does okay. He doesn't do too bad, but then. He's coming into pretty good form, but he's going to switch over to turf. So and is ready to move forward. So I'm going to ask you what you think happens here, why it happens, and if anyone can spot the pattern in this, all the bonus points to you. I'll let you take a second. No, because he has a 69 back here, so, but you're very close. You're on to. You want her to be going slower at the beginning of this turn. I'll go ahead and just pop this one up on you. It's kind of. And I'll go ahead and show you what happened. It's a new pace top. So this is a new pace top, dirt. Shape number was a monster number. I can't even remember what it was, but just blew the whole competition away. And sometimes a new pace top means that they've got some speed under their belt. So if a horse they spend so much energy at the beginning that they can't have enough energy to make the stretch run, the new pace top and that was his out of shape number. So Correct, but because in DRF it shows that he finished but the average buyer number in that particular race was I would too, but the rest of the crowd skipped over. Yeah. Yes, exactly. But people shy away from turf horses that have early speed sometimes. That's another reason I think but he really took to turf nicely. So, but yeah, this is one of those where the rest of the crowd over. Their development numbers. They aren't necessarily what he's been running after. Go for that layoff. That the trainer is going to bring him back with a purpose. So, let's move on. And the first horse should be like Jake the Bandman. That's the one that you're looking for. And then I'm going to let you, with your formulas, go through and handicap it yourself. I included DRF so you could have some reference for trainers and past performances and things like that and see the conversion. But let you go through and circle who you like and give it a couple minutes, and then we'll watch the race and see how you did using what you just learned. So look for decreasing turf spreads. Look for the new pace top. What you think he's going to do? Check it all out. See who you think the long shot winner is going to be. By the way, this isn't for any prize. This is just see how you do on your own. The contest is later. Don't sweat this one. This one is just for fun. It's not usually like that. All right. No. We'll watch it whenever you guys are ready, but I'll give you a few more minutes. It's a lot to pour over, especially if you just jotted down those formulas. Now you have to go through and do them for each horse. So, and I'll warn you that the horse that actually winds up winning, his morning line changed drastically, but this is the one where the morning line maker must have been just, I don't know, out of his mind when he made the odds, because if you look at Predicteform, this seems like a very clear-cut horse, but once you watch it and see that someone must have had Predicteform at the track and used it, so. Did you write it down? You have to write it down. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just teasing. You don't actually have to write it down. I'm not going to check your papers. Yeah. All right, you guys ready? Let it roll. All right. Is this, hang on, this doesn't look quite right. This has changed, hang on. It's taking me to like 11 minutes before the race, hang on. That's not correct. Okay. Here we go, we don't want to wait 11 minutes for that race to start. Here we go. I don't know if we have sound or not. I don't know. We aren't getting any. It is. It's on my computer, but I don't know. Well, get excited. Someone want to call this for us? Or? Thank you. Yes. All right. All right, watch your horse, see what he's doing, see how he's conserving his energy or expending it. All right, so if you can't tell who that is, it's the 6, the 3, and something blurry. I don't know. Really? Okay. All right. Did you have the 3? Let's ask that. You had the 3. Awesome. All right. All right, I'll say this much. The 3 should have been morning line 3-1, but he was morning line 12-1. We were hoping it hold. We bet him, and then all of a sudden someone at Evangeline discovered, I don't know, Predicteform, and hopped right on it. So that was 11 minutes to post. And then he, yeah. I don't know. I actually wondered that too, so I'm not sure. Yeah. Actually, I don't know. It should be in your DRF form. Or it should be actually in your advanced. It'll have like a little B and a square for blinkers. All right. Second time blinkers? All right. We'll go ahead and review why that horse won, too. So, all right, the 3 won, the 6 came in second. You all caught on to the new pace top, and it was just a crystal clear, perfect example of how a horse who was rated very poorly on morning line should have been valued in a much better light. So, again, new pace top, his best ever 4F without exceeding within 2 points his best ever final. That's to a T what he had going on in his pattern. He had the 60-day layoff period, which is perfect. And no one else could even come close to his 4 furlong number. And it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to wire the race if he has the highest 4 furlong number. That's important to keep in mind. It just means that if he can run the 4 furlongs and stay in the mix and stay in the pack, he'll have that much more energy to power through at the end like he did. Also important to note, again, in dirt, it doesn't mean that he's accelerating at the end. It means he's decelerating not as slow as the other horses are decelerating. Does that make sense? So they're all getting slower together, but he's getting slower at the slowest rate. Anybody? Does that make sense? It's hard to explain. All right. I wish I had figurines that I could use.
Factor too that the horse has just run that last race off a layoff.
Yes. So the new pace
Cut it
top.
back at distance, right? From 6.5 to 5.5. You look at DRS.
Yeah, I would consider that.
Factor in that.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, that's why we gave you DRF too, so you could take that into account. Yeah. So yeah. All right. I'd also like to point out a double pattern here. So when you have a reversal coupled with the new pace top, it is extremely powerful, even if there's a layoff in between. So double patterns, always consider them, study them, go through the form twice if they have 2 patterns in a row. It's very rare that horses do. So this is a perfect example of one. All right, so if you see a reversal to a new pace top, you need to remember to bet it. All right. New pace top, turf to dirt. We're going to go ahead and make the switch in surfaces now. All right, so impressive statistics, 70% of new pace tops will run an improved race next out. 80% of new pace tops improve if the new pace top was earned off a 60 or more day layoff. So, and then comes right back within a month. So that's an important thing to remember, the 60 and then the 30, and then the next race out is when you want to hit it hard. So, it's extremely valuable because the public can't see these figures. In DRF, well, you know what you see. You just looked at DRF. So anyways, basically it was the increased speed and the better position at the beginning that got him there. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next case example. This is a case study called Fred Gets Rich. It's Derby Day. I know that you already know the answer, Fred. Maybe you don't. I don't know. But this is where a new pace top, or sorry, not a new pace top. This is strictly all turf horses. Sorry. Turf onto turf. The things that you want to remember, the alligator mouth, getting wider. So turf spread is getting bigger. You want to look for horses that have the bigger spread because they're going to peak. Also, does anyone have a turf decline line that is hidden? Look for that. So do you guys remember what turf decline line is? It's when your 4 furlong drops, but your final stays about the same or improves. Also, even though they might have a turf decline line, their final numbers have to remain competitive. So go ahead and study Churchill Downs. If you want DRF, there's a copy or 2 on the table. It was just huge to print out. So take turns and go ahead and study Predicteform. Ignore our notes on there. This is our hard copy because the electronic one goes away after the race is done. So it's the one that says scratched on the beginning. Do you see it? Do you see handwriting that says scratched? right, here we go. We're going to go ahead and watch it. And let's find out who won. And I expect you to jump up out of your chair and buy drinks for everyone again, Fred. Here we go. I'm not an announcer. I'm sorry. I'd love to call it for you, but it's a bit blurry. It's supposed to, but I don't think the audio is on the TV. So it's on the computer, but it's not on there. Yeah. All right. How you guys doing so far? Okay. Okay. You're doing all right? Turns into a wild one. Hold on to your hat. Watch them move. Watch them conserve their energy according to how you think their pattern's going. Alright, here they come. Now I'll warn you, I did not have the winner in this race. I took the horse that came in second for all the apples, and we've got the 8 at 20 to 1 coming up. That's the 8, and the 5, and the 3, and the 5 nips him into the wire right after I thought I won, but Fred crushed it, so it's all right. All right. The 5 won, the 8 got second, and the 3 got third. It works pretty well. Yeah, right? Hang on. This is still not right. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at why the race ran like it did. So the 3 horses that had the widest spreads are the 3 horses that won, with the exception of the one horse who tied the horse that came in third for the next widest spread. The one was a foreign horse. Here are the payouts if you're interested. This is the money that Fred won. So I remember that. I feel like you had the win also. What are they? So, sorry, it is the payoff. The 5 paid $9.40 to win. The 8 paid $15.80 to place, and the 3 paid $9.80 to show. So.
I don't think I had to try. I think I had the exact, and I think I had money across on it. Because I didn't lose that much that day.
I don't know. Did you? Didn't you? I don't know, Fred. I don't know, Fred. I thought you won pretty big that day, so
No, I didn't.
all right. Well, all right. All right. So, again, turf spreads, alligator mouths. The final what gave him the edge over the 8 in the end. He had the layoff with the designation. Came from tracks like Turf Paradise and Gulfstream, where, frankly, there aren't always turf. they really are. All right. Fred is... All right, so the first one is whenever you see a TDL or a plow, and it's a horse that switches from a regular route like 8 furlongs on turf to a super long race like 14 furlongs. His first 4 furlong time or his 6 furlong time is going to drop, or not time, excuse me, figure is going to drop significantly because of course he's running slower at the beginning. He should be running slower at the beginning if he's running 14 furlongs versus 8. Horses that typically run middle distances, let's see here, hang on. Oh, it's super frustrating too because plow horses can only receive that designation once. So let's say they use it up when they're young and it was a computer screw up. They can never have it again, so you have to manually spot it. That's why it's important to go through every single time when you're playing a race and manually calculate the spreads. If you don't, you could miss a potential plow and not even realize it, or a potential TDL and not realize it. I have a huge problem with how the program works in that respect, but I also realize that we only get to look 10 races back, and so if it occurred before, we'll never know. All right, the other angle that you want to watch out for is whenever a router horse, a horse that typically runs 8 or more furlongs, switches back to a sprint. He'll oftentimes get a new pace top where he runs his fastest 4 furlongs but not his fastest final because he's cutting back. So he should be running his fastest 4 furlongs in a cutback. It's a sprint. You're supposed to go fast in the beginning and you're supposed to go fast the whole way through. So keep an eye out for that particular angle too. Don't get excited about a new pace top when it's a cutback in distance on dirt. Also, again, we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but young horses will get designations all the time. Ignore most of them. If it's a double top, especially because they should be improving in all respects in each race. This is more for horses that are maturing, 3-year-olds and up. If it's a 2-year-old who's running willy-nilly, the designations don't really apply. He should be slowly improving, but blowouts and things like that, sometimes they just don't know what they're doing. All right, so we're kind of towards the end of things here, but we want to up your long shot game. And I have some suggestions for that to try to identify and bring more value to the table. So the first one, make your own morning line. We kind of talked about this before. Don't wait for the morning line odds to come out. Look at the program first, look at the horses, even look at DRF and try not to look at that so you can understand who you think has the most value, and then look up at the tote boards and find out what the rest of the public thinks. The other one, a lot of programs and a lot of people throw out horses due to post position. On routes especially, I really hate when they do this. So a lot of people don't know that the track is banked similar to NASCAR style. So if you're running on the outside and you're running wild, or if you're running wide because you are an outside post in the first turn or whatever, you still can bank around and kind of zing. Now, not all tracks have an awesome grade to them on the outside, but all tracks have some type of grade, especially on the turf where you can move around, and it should not be that much of a hindrance. So it's important to keep in mind that post position is not everything. Don't throw out outside horses. But the public does that sometimes, and that can be a great value. If there's a long shot on the outside, sometimes it'll give you, even 5-1 more value on them. So the other one is European horses. This is an interesting fact that I found out the other day. They're bred to relax when they're in a crowd, whereas U.S. horses tend to get nervous. And so they conserve more energy because they're relaxed in the beginning of turf races especially. So when they find an opening, they can accelerate harder because they have that break. So when you see European horses, I have a really hard time handicapping them and betting on them. But it's an interesting thing to consider if you look at the pace scenario. And you feel like the pace is going to be really bunched up at the beginning, and he's going to be running a pack, which is true of most turf races. But, if you see one that looks very evenly scored, it can be worth a consideration. The last point is don't just bet jockeys. Love my dad, but he's notorious for doing this. He'll find a jockey to track he likes. It's all he's betting for the rest of the day. Just that one man is his man, and we're done for the day. I'll go ahead and show you an ROI thing here. All right, so I don't know if any of you remember any of these jockeys. They're from like the 90s, so if you do, bonus points to you, but I found this in a book. So, all right, so this is the trainer with by far the highest win percentage. Races won out of races entered, average dollar per win. ROI is minus 23% if you just keep betting on that jockey all day. All right, the next one down, as you can kind of see, much higher ROI. And this jockey has only won 7 races, but he has a 90% ROI. So it's a good lesson if you're picking long shots not to get caught up in a bad jockey. It's a dangerous move to make. It doesn't always work. It's just not a smart way to handicap, to discount a horse right away because of the jockey. All right. We're going to go ahead. This is a pocket sheet that I'll happily email you if you'd like. This has kind of the main points of what we did today in like a form that you can just keep in your folder whenever you go to the track if you want a handicap on Predicteform. And let me see what time it is. What time was... We might have actually missed our contest race. We might have to pick a different one while Aaron is doing his presentation. Shoot. I didn't realize it went quite that long. Well, tell you what, Aaron, do you want to come do your presentation and we'll do a contest right afterwards? All right. Here, I'm going to check Express back quick and just see what's running so we can find one.
Carol, we could still use that sheet.
Oh yeah, and just watch the past one. Good idea. All right. Yes. No looking. No peeking. No peeking. Yeah. All right. So, all right. Good point. Good point. We don't have to watch this live. All right. So you get 6 fake dollars to bet in any way you want. There should be a little betting sheet in your packet. If there's not, let me know. I'll get you one. It's like a half sheet. Yep, so this is the 7th race at Del Mar tonight. Hope you weren't planning on actually betting it. It is already ran. These are the value plays. And you have Predicteform and DRF in your packet. If you don't have those, let me know and I'll get them to you.
Are there extra Del Mars over there? Got a predictor form.
turned all the way up on the TV.
What's that?
It's connected to the TV and turned all the way up. So from here it might.
PC audio, is there TV audio on here?
There you go.
We still need a. Can you guys see the morning lines okay? So you have your odds? No, I understand. Let me zoom for you.
You're a genius. I know. It's just October and willed it into existence.
Okay. Mhm. I don't know how to do that and keep the horses in there. I'm sorry. If anyone wants morning line odds, I'll just read you off what they are, if that helps you at all, whenever you put your bets in. All right, so horse 5, or here, I'll go in order. I'm sorry, that's confusing. Horse 1 is 8-1 morning line. Horse 2 is 9-5, or 9/5, excuse me. Horse 2 is 9/5. 9-5. Horse 3 is 6-1. Horse 4 is 10-1. Horse 5 is 6-1. Horse 6 is 5 halves. 7 is 12-1. 8 is 12-1. I'm sorry we don't have will pays for exactas or anything, but just roll with it. to unplug this temporarily so you guys can't see the results as I bring it up. Make it more exciting. We will have sound. I'm holding it so you guys can't see the results first. Well, we'll keep you guys in suspense. I don't want you to see the payouts without seeing the race first. That's not fun. All right. Don't you dare, Cindy. Hang on, I'm having issues. Yeah, I'm trying to get ExpressBet to give me the actual race. All right, we got it now. No, I didn't want to show people the results before the race one because the beginning of the video is the payouts. So, all right, there we go. All right, here we go. Maybe? This is weird. Okay, hang on. Ooh, little help. Anyone? Computer problems? Anyone good with computers here? What is showing on my screen will not show on the TV. Any ideas? Hang on. It's half of my screen, but it's not it, man. Well, no, because on my screen it's the race. Up here it's nothing. I'm sorry. Sorry guys, hang on. Yeah, but this is what I'm looking at, and that's what's up there.
Okay.
So. I shouldn't have unplugged it. Whoops.
No, you're
An
fine.
element of surprise. Okay, thanks. Yes, absolutely. All right.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Yep.
All right.
On the far side, Paddle Alert and joint third. Noted and Quoted is down at the rail, being followed by Fact of Life. Run for Reds is last. 5 lengths to cover the lot. They've under the half-mile pole and on Jem has gone clear by almost 3 now. Paddle Alert is on the far side. Down at the rail, Noted and Quoted now getting through to join Avicii and join second. In behind that is Run for Reds and Fact of Life is last. Still 5 lengths covers them all. 3/8 of a mile to go, but On Gin goes on for home. On Gin opens up on him now. On Gin by 3 at the top of the lane. Cuddle Alert on the inside of Beaches. He has to do a little better. Run for Red's making headway on the far side. Noted and Quoted and Fact of Life still the last two. They come to the top of the lane and On Gin desperate to stay in front now. Noted and Quoted as let loose on the grandstand side. Run for Red's coming home. Gamely as is Cuddle Alert. Anyone a four. Cuddle Alert now gets the lead. Cuddle Alert. Noted and Quoted on the outside. Late run from the Beachy. But Cuddle Alert will win it. Cuddle Alert. Noted and Quoted. The Beachy running on third and then Run for Red.
All right, did anybody have the 2 or the 3? Anybody have anything? You got a 7? You got a 7? Ooh, that's going to be pretty tough to beat. All right. Good job. All right. Well done. All right, we'll look at the payouts. Okay, in case you guys can't read the payouts from here, the exacta, $2 exacta paid $120. Do you happen to have a fake $120 now? Or, oh, no. That was still an excellent try. Anybody hit the trifecta here? Just kidding. And $30 winner, so congratulations. I'll go ahead and take yours anyways and see if anyone got second for fun. You had the 7? Oh my gosh. Awesome. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and turn this over to Aaron, and I'll collect your tickets and make sure we have a real winner. And you have a USB or what?
No, I just literally, it's a Vimeo link.
Okay.
The TV's cranked up, right? Yeah, just click that.
The-
There from Sharonda.
There you go. Okay. All right, there you go. Let me grab my stuff.
And the soundboard, maybe? Can we, I think? What is this crap over here? Okay. I think, yeah, the mics work.
I'll get an extension. We can put it up to the.
Well, no, it's going to come through here. I'm just wondering if we can make the TV a little louder on the soundboard.
That's by maybe holding a mic up to it, or where is it?
I don't know. We'll see. Let me see.
Okay, so it's
That time they've been told that
You guys hear that?
X7 is unique. As an organization, there's not.
Okay. All right, that should be good, Johnny.
yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Aaron, for those of you that haven't met me before. Thank you, Johnny. One of Fred's disciples from Fremont Public Schools. The best speech and debate teacher was in Fremont for some reason. I don't know why, but so he brought this project to me that him and Diana had an idea for, and this is kind of what I've been doing for a living for a while, and I want to do something back home in Nebraska, so it was perfect. So we did a bunch of interviews and have, I think, 5 or 6 hours worth of historical footage we got from the Historical Society and Joe and Nanya, and so really excited to be back and just working on it full time. Finally got one editor to work on it for 2 days in a row. It's my third editor in the last however long, just because it's tough to get people's schedules going. But so we're at a point where we're gonna use this to launch one of those crowdfunding campaigns, and then I'm also got a couple investors that I'm gonna approach, and then hopefully we'll have enough to just kind of keep rolling on this project. And once we're kind of have enough money in the bank to get it done, we'll be done about 5 or 6 months. So we was really lucky. Had a young lady that from the USC Film School move here, and she's bored. So I'm gonna give her some work. So it's really good. So she worked really hard the last couple of days. I watched the first 4 minutes of this. I haven't seen it all the way through yet. I left to her house and to go to another thing, and then came here. I already spotted at least 2 errors in it, so I just kind of stopped watching. But you guys probably won't even spot it, won't even notice. But so let's just watch it, and then we can talk afterwards if you guys want to. And it's going to feel a little rough. The music isn't quite all there and sound effects and stuff, but you guys will get the general idea.
And they're off in the Nebraska Land Handicap. For the wire, that's Comet Cat pulling away. Comet Cat to win the Nebraska Land Handicap.
In a few minutes, Michael Warrior is an inexperienced horse. It hurt him. But Wonderlock coming from off the rail and moving out to the middle, and splitting horse, then pulling away as a horse who was already one of the distance of ground.
Well, an abundance of good quality horses allowed for there to be 2 divisions of the Beef State Stakes on the opening weekend. Both of those races at 5.5 furlongs, producing exciting wins. The first division by a horse called First Draft Choice, and the second by a popular old campaigner, Parade and Cowboy. Last weekend, the 3-year-old picture was a bit cloudy because of the win by the fine horse Nuts and Bolts. He was a reformed claimer. Another reformed claimer, Daring Jim, ran second, and the favorite Lucky Salvation was third. So the racing picture is a little bit clouded. It's going to take a lot more good racing to bring them all together and to give us a better picture. But one thing we know for sure, we're off to a big start.
Hello everyone, welcome to our tour of Exarban. Take a look around and see just what the entire field encompasses. As we said before, the best in the West, and the only thing backward about Exarban is the spelling, right? That's right, Mike.
We're known as that little big track in the Midwest. And you were right. That apron was just full of people. The roar was just a mess.
To many people, as I travel around the country, still consider it the best place to ever went to life.
The first time I went to Exarban, came up with my dad. He had a good day. I remember him counting money all the way home.
Yesterday afternoon at Exarban, a crowd of over 21,000 gathered to watch the Exarban Oaks, the 3-year-old filly championship here at Exarban. $108,900 at stake, with the winner to get just under $60,000.
Exarban was the premier place that everybody on the map knew. Exarban was wonderful, and when I was a little kid and we'd go there, that's all I could dream about was getting to Exarban and getting horses to run there and train there.
I started working for TV Smith at Exarban in 1968 when I was 7. And so all through grade school and all through high school, I worked all summers at the track.
Exarban's been around since 1934. It was rated as the top 7 tracks in the United States.
Everybody would come here. People from Chicago would come here.
We had people come in with buses and buses from Kansas City to see horse racing at Exarban. And you couldn't get a box seat. You had to wait in line for years.
We would run a race every half an hour, and we'd have bell-to-bell people. Truly would. We'd have 40,000 people on the track.
Now we could have a crowd of 18,000 to 20,000 people all over this plant.
Exarban was organized in 1895, but in 1932 it was about to die.
Exarban had racing from 1919 to 1928, and then the Attorney General stepped in and stopped racing, claiming it was unconstitutional. In 1934, a campaign was put on, and a Constitution Amendment was passed which allowed pari-mutuel racing in Omaha.
The Nebraska law requires the racetracks to be not-for-profit. Most other states, the racetracks are owned by for-profit organizations. The dog track started in Council Bluffs, and it slowly at first and then more rapidly took away the betting public from the races at the horse races.
There's only so many gambling houses. I mean, divided between 3 casinos and dog racetrack, Keno, and go on and on. I mean, people in Nebraska say, well, we don't want gambling. We got a lot of gambling in Nebraska.
Yes, Mike, in Nebraska, the only people or the only organizations that can conduct pari-mutuel racing are agricultural societies, and the monies that they derive from pari-mutuel racing must be spent in fields of agricultural, education, or charity.
A real vivid example is the state 4-H camp, which was just dedicated recently.
Exarban has already contributed nearly $500,000 for needed improvements in buildings and grounds at County Fair. That's something that some people don't know much about here in Omaha, but around the state it's most important.
My name is Art Beck from Seward, Nebraska. We are on the Seward County Fairgrounds at the present time.
The Knights of Exarban have been interested in our rescue squad service since it started some 25 years ago. Because of this interest, we've been able to build our squad service so that now it's recognized as a national leader.
In 1938, Exarban bought the Douglas Street Bridge, taking the control out of politics. And in 1947, they were able to make both the Douglas Street and South Omaha bridges completely free. Up to that time, they've been toll bridges.
Exarban is unique. As an organization, there's nothing else like it in America.
Here we are in the Coliseum itself.
This is what we call the turf garden during the racing period. In the fall and September, there'll be 12 inches of dirt on this floor, and we'll have a rodeo in here.
I'm Harry Knight. I'm the producer of the Exarban Rodeo here. Jake Isaacson knows every big-name cowboy and is a personal friend of them, and they think the world of them. Fellows like Casey Tibbs and Jim Shoulders and Bill Linderman and Lex Conley and Dean Oliver and all those boys that are up at the top have a great deal of respect for Jake because he has made this Exarban Rodeo one of the nicest places for them to come to that you can go anywhere in the United States.
And of course, we're standing on the ice rink with the pipes embedded in the floor, so we'll have, we hope, public skating and amateur hockey and professional hockey here all next winter.
I suppose everyone can see the large screen. I think that's a 30-foot screen.
30-foot screen, and I might add, Mike, that this was a first in America for racing. We put people inside of this building, tied into our grandstand, and gave them air-conditioned comfort. And of course, we bought the concessions here, and the pari-mutuel windows, of course, just across the hall in the Exarban Hall.
Exarban for 83, now better than ever, with fresh hot pizza made right here. Available on the west end of the grandstand concourse. Or enjoy the races in the air-conditioned comfort of the new Cornhusker Room, featuring exotic cocktails and the fabulous Ack Rib sandwich. And on those hot summer days, nothing could be better than a refreshing cone or sundae from the new ice cream parlor and the paddock buffet on the lower level. Exarban and Brandeis Food Management.
Now better than ever.
Well, here again in the Coliseum, as in the hall itself, versatility seems to be the key.
We think the stable area over there is one of the finest in the country. The accommodations, the sprinkler system, the fines, the neatness and cleanliness, of the living accommodations for the people here. This is out of this world. It's something I think some of the major racetracks in the country could follow his example in to their great advantage and ours as well.
Everybody that came here loved it. They loved the backside. The barn area was pretty, just like the movie style, you know, of how you picture a barn area.
There are a lot of thoroughbreds up for sale yesterday at Exarban. We'll have that story right after this.
A lot of stories about famous horses coming here. They were MDs, media darlings. Brent's Trans Am makes his appearance, shipping in for the big Cornhusker handicap.
Doctor Who, Roman Zipper, these horses were all people just come from all over to see it. They were Nebraska breds, and we used to run for $250,000 purses.
And they're off in the Nebraska Land Handicap. And it is Stat Smithy and Who, Doctor Who, driving out there right away to the inside.
And still today, you know, that call, Who, Doctor Who, with Terry Wallace, that just brought chills. You know, that was our big star.
It is Who, Doctor Who, however, now galloping away. Wanderous is second, best in a half third. Who, Doctor Who, to win the Nebraska Land.
Exarban drew so many people, and a lot of the greats always came to Exarban.
This is different looking, and really a different personality, and so we decided to use that for him.
Brindy heads apart for the lead. Holiday Dancer is third. Driving for the wire. That's Brindy with the lead. Halo Dottie second. Brindy and Halo Dottie at the wire. At the wire, Brindy will win it by a length and a half. Looking into the incident at the head of the stretch. There was a lot of concern amongst the Jack Van Bergvarn folks who were there with Brindy, and they were all very excited when finally the moment came that the stewards decided not to alter the original order of finish. The incident at the head of the stretch, in slow motion as we see Brindy bearing out toward the middle. It was the judgment of the stewards that there was no contact made and she had established ground, and therefore they did not decide to reverse the order of finish.
Usual celebration in the winner's circle. The horse was there, the jockey was there, the trainer was there, and of course the owner was there. And so was Terry Hess. Now you say you don't know Terry Hess? Well, you should.
The riders that came were from all over the country and the best.
Today, more than 250 people attended a benefit dinner at the Sons of Italy for La Rocca. The 21-year-old Fremont jockey had his legs paralyzed in the accident. La Rocca is now able to move around on crutches. He is still receiving therapy at Emmanuel Hospital. La Rocca was the leading apprentice jockey at Exarban last year. La Rocca is just one of 30 paraplegic jockeys who were injured during 1982.
I went back east to the Meadowlands, and just because I was the leading apprentice at Exarban, I got tons of mounts just because of that. I mean, really, people on the East Coast, they really, you know, knew that Exarban was a big time deal. It was kind of neat. You know, I was proud, you know, to be able to come from here and have him, you know, ride me because of that reason.
Jim McCumber, you're standing here with a horse that you train called Lovant. He's one of the two winners in the sale this coming Sunday afternoon. What sort of preparations now will you have put into him, getting him ready for the sale? From Mr. Black.
Stay on preparation for a sale. I mean, you know, on a horse like him, I mean, you lift him up and have him nice and clean and shiny because people like that. But I mean, he don't really need anything. He kind of speaks for himself, this horse does.
Now, this horse has already been a winner and showed a lot of talent. Just speaking from strictly a trainer standpoint, it must kind of give you a bad feeling to know that there's a shot he won't be back in here the next day.
Well, it really does, but I mean, as many horses as Mr. Glick, he feels as bad about it as I do. As many as he raises, you've got to sell some of them because, and nobody wants a bad one. If you got a good one to sell it.
Cornhusker Handicap and the trophy that symbolizes it. The premier prizes during the 1983 season at Exarban and every year for that matter. The Cornhusker is a 1 1/8 race this year with a purse of $150,000 added. We're looking for one of the most important races ever at Exarban since we're expecting the great mare Bursid to take on male rivals in the Cornhusker. It's the only race left for her before the Queen's Handicap late in August. and it'll be her first opportunity to race against colts here at Exarban.
No, I'm not an actor. I'm a racehorse. But when Hull and Smith asked me to do a commercial, I said, sure. You see, Hull and Smith, they always treat me right.
When they absolutely, positively have to be there by horse time, who do you call? Hull and Smith Horse Fans. Thoroughbred horse transportation anywhere in the country. Safe, reliable service guaranteed.
It's been a long time coming, growing, multiplying from roots firmly planted in Omaha. But Richmond Gordon's whole new concept in shopping has landed to become even more a part of your life. Richmond Gordon's store of the future at 132nd and Center has grand opening savings in every brand new department on the brand names you want most.
Exarban's best year was 1986, and after that it started going downhill a little bit, and those days are over now.
Can't explain Exarban, you know. And when I drive by there, still to this day, and look around, it just breaks my heart.
It would be a horrible shame if horse racing left Nebraska. We would lose all the hay business, gallop boys, trainers. They would all leave. They would go somewhere else, but they would leave Nebraska. And I think it would hurt our economy. People don't realize how many millions of dollars, but it would be horrible if we lost horse racing in a state like Nebraska.
You know, whether it be, you know, veterinarians, blacksmiths, feed stores, you know, just everybody that's involved in the horse itself. I mean, just think about what it takes to, from the time the horse is bred till it foals, till it gets trained, till it gets to the racetrack.
And there's so much good about racing. Once in a while, people, you know, portray it as not, but that's not the case. We know better.
I would just like to say, whatever it takes and whatever needs to happen to get racing back in the state, I truly believe people need to take a step back and look at the jobs, the families, the money, and just the livelihood of people that want to stay in the state.
Let's face it, Nebraska is a cowboy state. You go by Ogallala and these places, and everybody's a cowboy. And everybody wants to be a cowboy. And most horsemen are cowboys. These people come from farms where they actually had cows and Vanbergs. You know, that's what Marion Vanberg did, is raise cattle. And of course, Jack Vanberg and Marion were two of the greatest trainers ever to come from Nebraska. So it all goes together.
We're from Nebraska, we're good people. We just tried to beat them wherever we went, you know. And we weren't happy until we did, and then we moved along.
Exarban has contributed through the years substantially to the economic, civic, and cultural development of Nebraska and Western Iowa.
The health of the Nebraska racing circuit depends a great deal on new blood and new financial resources like any business. The enactment of the legislation setting up the Nebraska Thoroughbred Breeders Development Fund has been a big step forward. It has contributed to sustaining the already existing facilities and inspired investments in new actions such as the Regency Training Center. That action seeming to indicate that with the development fund, Nebraska has committed itself to being bullish on racing.
We hope you enjoy the rest of your tour as much as you have this part of it. And if I may, I'd like to say to the audience, if you haven't visited Exarban Field and seen this firsthand, we'd like to have you come, and we'll welcome you anytime you can get out here.
So there's actually a bunch more that she didn't get to that we want to put in there. But, yeah, anybody got any questions? Suggestions? I heard someone say, yeah, that's Gate Dancer. Yeah, I know that was Gate Dancer. But we're still working on matching up the horses and stuff. And there's about, I think, 50 other races. That Joe Ananya guy that runs Exarban.com, he's letting us use all his footage. So, like, I mean, he's got like 200 races on YouTube or something like that. So it's just kind of, we can just tick through them. So, and then we've got like a Vanberg interview that's not in there and a bunch of other stuff. So it's pretty exciting, really cool stuff. I mean, there's Don Von Hemmel, there's a bunch of other trainers, but that was just kind of, we wanted to get you guys, some with a nice shape and form to it for today. So, yeah. Yeah, she's great, right? Yeah, it was in 2 days. Whoa.
Is a person laying down.
That might be actually some of her previous work, so we can check that out. But yeah, Sharonda's great. So we had 2 days on that, and then I had another girl work 2 days, and then my buddy Al worked a day in L.A. I mean, we're going to knock it out, but the last guy we were working with decided to suck up all of our time and make things difficult, so we didn't get to do that. But so hopefully we're going to polish this up, and I mean, you see there's a lot of places for sound and more of those, After Effects and stuff, and also a lot of we're going to pull some World Herald archives and really also dig into a lot of the stock footage that's available from Durham and the World Herald. And then so right now we're working on this, and then have just a bunch of business stuff like the incorporation and bank account stuff to set up that's taken a while because everyone's on vacation, which is fine. And then we're going to work for this. And then we've got a couple interviews next week. We're going to go down. I got to interview Mike Patterson from the World Herald on Tuesday, hopefully at Horseman's, where we did some of the other, where we interviewed Johnny and Carol. Yes, sir. Okay, great. Yeah, they're both on our list, and as soon as we get that funding, we're going to go. Fred's already talked to Jack, and I have the Herb Reekin's nephew, Tony. I have his number through some of the Fremont folks, and hopefully I'm going to try to get him for even just for a little bit. But yeah, as soon as we're up and running, we're going to go there. We're going to go. I'm currently stationed in LA, so we can go to Del Mar and Santa Anita real quick and catch people, then also up to Golden Gate. I want to go see Monty Meyer up there because I saw we had Randy and his brother in there. Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the trips that we want to take. So I think if we take a couple trips just around the different parks, we'll be able to catch a lot of people. But then we're going to interview Mike, and then we're going to interview in Lincoln, we're going to interview Walt Radcliffe, who's one of the big lobbyists in the state, who is going to sort of talk about the history of gambling in the state and getting that passed. And he's also lobbied for the Horsemen on occasion. And then Terry Fairfield is a really cool interview. He's the former head of the University of Nebraska Foundation, talking about how the track started the ag school, essentially. There was the first scholarships in the 30s. It also started Iowa State's ag school. It also was a big UNO and Creighton scholarship programs. One of the things that's not in here was the Papio Creek was built with Exarban money. So there's just a lot of really good stuff to get into with the historical stuff. And then obviously the modern day conflicts are going to be fun as well. Well, I mean, fun is a storytelling mechanism. I don't know, how fun it is for the people involved, but it's really, really good story and stuff. So yeah, and I'm always open to more suggestions of who to talk to. I mean, Fred has kind of been guiding a lot of this. I kind of take these documentaries with coming into a world and just kind of like show up and see what's around, and and so it's kind of been fun to do that back home a little bit. But yeah, any other questions or? Once we get rolling, it'll take about 5 months to put together, I think. But even now, like, even if I can just keep this girl on it and editing it, like, kind of continuously without her breaking up, because it's like what happens with us is like I was supposed to get $5,000 to edit it right away, and that money kind of didn't come through, and he like pays a bunch of people, and so as a result, like, okay, well, I got to go take this job for a while, then I got to take this job for a while, take this job for a while, like. So if I can keep the people that I have, it should take about 5 months to edit and kind of get. And again, we got to go to Remington. We got to go take 3 or 4 more trips. But the idea is to get them going at the same time, and that's kind of why I'm kind of coming back and just not leaving until this is going, just because, it's time, just time to do it. So yeah, I would say about 5 months, and then. From there, it really depends on when it gets released. Like, we're going to do like a kind of a limited run here in Nebraska theatrically. Like when we do our Kickstarter, a lot of that will be like selling tickets. Like if you give us like $25, you'll get like a ticket to go to see And then we're gonna have like a special red carpet premiere with like open bar and stuff. Talk to people at the Rococo about that down in Lincoln, which would be a really fun venue. And then Omaha, there's Exarban Cinemas. There's, what's that? And well, we'll talk to them. I mean, they're very nice people. I've worked with them before. They're very good people. But yeah, what I actually want to get a week run at Exarban Cinema. Like I don't want just one screen. I want a week run. So I kind of am waiting to talk to them a little bit to just, until it's real. Because until it's real, like I don't want to, we're very lucky in Omaha and Nebraska to have distributors and exhibitors that will put your stuff out. So I don't want to talk to them about it until it's real, But yeah, that's definitely on the list. And I mean, they own the Fremont Theater too. And, there's a bunch of ones. I've screened stuff in Superior. Lions has a really cool theater. So you can just really just go around to each town, and then I think it'll be a really cool kind of thing to connect and get, just get people excited about Nebraska and horse racing again and seeing that ag economy and what a big deal that is. Because that's one of the big things I'm going to talk about is Exarban and horse racing kind of following the State Fair Park. It started out in Omaha, then it's now Lincoln, now it's in Grand Island. So, that's kind of where the ag economy is shifting. The stockyards are gone. Omaha's, kind of full of yuppies now. No offense, anyone. So it's lost that kind of country feel. And so is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? Like, I don't know. Like, let's examine it and see. Like, so it could be, again, like it's a cliche in the legislature. They say what's good for Omaha is not always good for the rest of the state. And so it's sort of an examination of that and how we can rectify that. I mean, it's, the answer to me is pretty simple. Build a big track and get an app that actually is easy to use. And just, that's the legislation they'd be going for. But no one's hired me as a consultant yet. So, but I've got a pretty good friend to play Moneyball here with me on some of these stats. So that's going to be fun to use. Carol's... Yeah, and that was literally... Yeah, and that's literally just from... Because I left her and Fred alone at 6 p.m. and they were still going through stuff. And what time did you leave? You left about 8. So they went through all the stuff and Fred was just going, that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And so you see how this story we can kind of open it up and expand it, and she'll keep adding stuff in. And there's there's all sorts of like Johnny's whole talking about being at the steakhouses and when guys would come in the winter. So there's all these things that we haven't even included yet, and also we can expand. You know what I mean? Like you can expand. That whole thing about how there was racing, and then there were there's a whole Christian minister sort of muckraking campaign that went on. Before that amendment got passed. So that's really kind of a fun thing to dive into. Because the thing we have to do, too, is use the thing to connect the track, Omaha and Nebraska, to kind of the wider world to be able to sell it internationally, because I do have international sales estimates for this because horse racing is wildly popular. So my airline sales agent said, oh, yeah, sell that in a heartbeat. Emirates, easy. Hong Kong Air, easy. He just get it to me, And so what I have to do is I have to make it like as if like I'm a dude from like the Emirates, like from the desert, who doesn't know what Nebraska is. And so that'll be kind of a fun thing to explain, and go through and place, like Nebraska and the different histories, it's like in the 20s and the 30s and, like in the 40s, the track closed down and it was used for war storage, so it was used for the war effort. So that's kind of always a cool story. And, there's a thing with Eisenhower giving a presentation about how he's going to fix the rural economy in 1953, I think. And that was kind of, I think the program that that's my dad about this without cussing but he's cussed about this. But when the banks came in and started buying up the farms and all that kind of stuff, and it's actually the decade where Omaha's population explodes, and you see pretty much every county around start going down. Like my dad's from Pawnee County, and so in the 50s it just starts to go, and now there's a fifth of people there because people can't. Subsist on. There's no more subsistence farming, so that's kind of fun stuff. And also, Exarban, the organization was started out 1895 to kind of prove that we weren't dead after the drought. There's a really huge drought, so it's just kind of a lot of neat. And they have a whole Exarban means like it's like 3 different languages. It's Hebrew, Syrian, and like Aramaic, and it means like the Father, the Son, and His house. So they even like came up with this like fun backdoor meaning for it back in the day. So there's just a lot of fun, kind of stuff to explore with the Knights too, and kind of how Omaha grew like in that era. Omaha in the 1890s was kind of it was literally the Wild West. So it's kind of fun to show that, just that kind of history. Like I don't know if you guys have seen that Forgotten Omaha thing on Facebook, that Facebook group, but that's really an awesome thing. They kind of go into all the different developments and stuff. And, again, Nebraska, it's funny talking to Sharonda, our editor, because she's from Alabama. And the way she puts it, she's from the part of Alabama where they're still pissed they're not part of Louisiana. So for her to kind of come and examine, like, the history of Omaha, and history of Omaha is a history of bulldozing its history and kind of this, mentality. And so to her, it's a really kind of a foreign deal. So it's kind of cool to have people from the outside that kind of like looking at this and being like, wait, what is this? What? You did what with gambling money? And so I think that's just a really, neat thing that kind of, I don't know. It's unique. It literally is unique, So it's going to be great. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll have both sides represented, and, the gambling across the river, and, the big thing to me, too, is lottery and Keno. I just want to see, they said lottery put $500 million back in Nebraska. I want to count that money, because the one thing that we do have. Okay, we'll talk, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, you mean the Pope? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, yeah. But there's a lot of different, and there's the official stories and sort of the unofficial stories and stuff like that. So we'll definitely be like analyzing a lot of those, and we'll talk about that time definitely, because we can't. It would be irresponsible if we didn't, And that's kind of actually we've gotten some hesitation from folks like, oh, what are you gonna say about this thing? Like, oh, don't, but just kind of got to deal with it. I like literally have professional training to deal with that, so I'm not too worried about it. And we'll, usually once you get it going, then everyone kind of, oh, you're actually going to make the movie. Okay, can I be a part of it? So it's going to be good. And we'll be able to get in depth, because again, we're going to like, I'm trying to talk to Ernie Chambers too, and he was a very anti horse racing guy, the track, for his own reasons, and so it's good to get that kind of side, because then it's sort of, you see why this people are, this side, and. Without, because then I don't want to get into the Michael Moore thing where I go in and make a documentary and have my mind made up and know the issue, and it's more fun to discover and explore stuff and actually get really in depth. Like I really think this thing could be, just all this footage. Fred's seen it. We got 5 or 6 hours of just stock. So I think ideally I'd like this to actually grow into a documentary series, like a 4 to 6 part thing that you'd see on Hulu or Netflix. But I don't have a business plan for that yet. So for right now, we're just making a documentary feature, because that's the business plan that I can put together. So, what? Yeah. Baseball, jazz, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to try to do, we want to definitely capture the spirit of Ken Burns, but I think we want to do a little more modern style, because my distributor kind of does, he has some good connections with Hulu and Showtime, and Showtime actually bought the Lawrence Phillips documentary, so they see the power of Nebraska a little bit, so like that might be a good lead in. And so we're going to try, and ESPN's on the table, any team, like when I get this thing polished up, or not eternity. But when I get the piece polished up, it's going to go pretty immediately to any TV. I've already had discussions with them, and they were kind of like, well, I don't know if you can find the story, Aaron. Of course, it was because the gentleman had tried to make his own horse racing documentary and not been successful, so he didn't think that I could. And I'm kind of like, well, it's literally a linear historical narrative. Like, I think I can find it. You know what I mean? Like, because we wanted to. We have the Exarban book, the Exarban story book that the Knights put together in '66. And then also we want to option the Jack Vanberg book and kind of make Jack and Marion Vanberg's legacy part of the story and kind of those interweaving storylines like Ken Burns does so well, like in the Civil War. Because, again, that's a great dichotomy because it shows the Vanbergs in Columbus, which is like the country, and then you've got the things developing in Omaha as well. And there's another guy, J.J. Isaacson, they briefly mentioned. He basically, all of Omaha owes him a debt of gratitude. Like, he bailed him out during the Depression. He was the one that came up with all the good ideas. And he, talk about the Knights being an elitist organization and kind of the horseman's claim against them. Like, well, he was a kid with an a Jewish street kid with an 8th grade education from North Omaha, who became one of the best boxing promoters in the country, and then the Knights got smart and hired him. And then that's when, from 32 to 62, 63, that's when the, organization explodes. So he's another great character. Fred Ecafee, who we didn't quite get in here, but he's another guy, because, again, that we want to show that, we talk about horses in Nebraska. Horses showed up here in the 1600s, and, the Sioux were the first horse lords of the prairie. Like, I didn't know at the time that Fred Ecafee was Sitting Bull's great-grandson. That's kind of a cool thread line, so we can even literally talk about the state of Nebraska in 1895 and these disparate groups. And, even this meaning of the state of Nebraska is the wide water. That's the Sioux word. And so there's a lot of different, what's that? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's amazing. Yeah, in Pine Ridge. Yeah. So we want to go. Yeah, we want to go up there eventually and film with them. And again, it's tough to get the tribe's permission and all that kind of stuff for obvious reasons. They don't trust a whole lot for obvious reasons. But we can. But Fred's agreed to talk to us. We've already have one interview with them, and I think that it'll be good. And when they see what we're doing, and yeah, that's one of the things I want to get. I want to try to get a interview day going there. Because my DPs are starting to come back. So, again, it just kind of comes back to... Yeah, I'd like to. I understand she knows a lot. Yeah, I understand she knows a lot, yeah. Well, I think that's... Yeah, I think absolutely. Yeah, and she's in Columbus right now too, right? Yeah, so I think we're going to try... I think probably the day where they're not racing would be a good one, because... I've noticed at race day I become a distraction, and it's kind of... Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. We want to get at least one more day at Columbus. And I want to go out to Fauner Park. I hope the gentleman there will email me back soon enough. And I want to interview Newland, too. He just got back from vacation. So there's a number of interviews I want to do while I'm back. And hopefully I can get this up and the Kickstarter launched and we get enough in the can to be able to pay for 5 or 6 or 7 shoot days. Yeah, a little bit, but Lincoln, yeah, but it doesn't. Honestly, like I have, just from the one day at Horseman's, I have all the live racing footage that I need. I think we had 3 cameras out there. I think we have like 8 hours or something like that, and all the crowd shots and what's that? When did she? Oh, it's impolite to ask a lady her age. But no, I think she did tell me. I think she's like 32, so she would have I think she graduated undergrad when I was in film school at UCLA. So I think 08, 09 maybe. And then she went and got a master's. But she's but again, the USC, it's a great vetting. It's like being trained by Jack Vanberg, right? You know that they're... Okay, cool. Yeah. But I don't know. You have to ask her. But anything else? No? All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Oh my.
Stay here.
Okay.
Carol, you want to come over and...
Big congratulations to our out-of-town winner. You can probably use a free hotel room. That's what you want. So, and I will buy you a drink because you had an excellent second. And I would also like to say, too, if you want free Predicteform, just put your email on the sheet of paper. I will send it to you. this weekend and next weekend. If you have any particular tracks that you want, I'll send you an email first, just to let you know who I am. I promise I don't spam you. This is strictly just for free horse racing. Let me know, and we'll get you all free Predicteform hooked up. And thank you again for coming. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you all turning out tonight. So I had a lot of fun.
Carol Ann, would you again stay here? And Gary, would you come on up? And Cindy, would you do some great pictures, please? Gary? Yeah. Gentleman picked a $30 winner, folks, with Predicteform. Yeah, well, you can hand that like a certificate you're going to get for a free room here at the Hotel RL. And
just stand next to him.
okay, well, get in the light, you guys. I'll get this out of the way.
I'm not a stage guy, John. Shall I sit here?
Want to thank each and every one of you who came out. And Dustin, thank you so much for helping. And Carol, what a great job. Nice. So the best of luck to all of you with Predicteform. And Carol will take care of making sure you get the things. And this documentary is going to be awesome. Exarban needs to be remembered and pushed and everything. We did find out how much money Cindy took care of today in the turf room. $26,000 today. No, not quite. Well, please tell your friends if you enjoyed tonight. Carol, next month you're going to be back for another great edition. And do you want to tell us what you might be having? Here we go.
Okay, so next month, it's September 29th, I believe. We're going to be doing more Predicteform, and there are 5 more patterns that we didn't cover yet. So we'll be doing a little bit more of the same, but we'll be getting in-depth with quick gaps a little bit more, and a couple other tools, and some statistical analysis, too, of angles and which ones are successful, which ones aren't. Similar to what we did with the ROI on the jockeys today, but it's going to be with placing bets and which ones are actually valuable versus not, and how to find out at what tracks if they're valuable or not. So just going to try to make more money next month. Hope you all show up. Thanks.